Have you ever wanted to build a gift that's truly timeless? Something that someone will cherish for years and years? Well, today we're going to break down the plans for this absolutely beautiful, handcrafted maple jewelry box. It's a fantastic project, and it mixes classic woodworking with a really clean, modern design. All right, let's get into it. And just look at this thing. This is the stunning final product. I mean, the details are incredible. You've got the warm maple wood, and then it's set off by these rich walnut accents on the handle and the feet. It has this really elegant raised panel lid, and inside, a super practical removable tray with little compartments. It just screams heirloom quality, doesn't it? So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with all the prep work, getting our tools and materials ready. Then we'll dive into the core technique for making the box's body. After that, we'll build out the inside parts, and finally, we'll cover all those crucial finishing touches that really make it shine. Okay, first things first. Before you can make a single cut, you gotta get prepared. Let's talk about everything you're gonna need to pull this project off. Let's look at the vitals here. The box itself is pretty compact, about 12 inches wide by 7 high. We're mainly working with maple, and for the joinery, it's all classic stuff. You've got miters for those perfect angled corners, and then dados and rabbets, which are basically just different types of grooves for fitting all the panels together. And for the finish, something simple and clear like Damish oil is all you need to really make that wood grain pop.
So, how much time are you looking at? Well, the estimate is somewhere between 9 and 15 hours total. That's a few hours for prepping the wood, a few for cutting, a few for assembly, and a bit for finishing. Totally doable as a weekend project. And your shopping list is pretty straightforward. You'll need some maple boards in a couple of different thicknesses, just a little scrap of walnut for those awesome accents, some plywood for the bottom, and a good pair of solid brass hinges. And of course, don't forget the wood glue and whatever finishing oil you decide to go with.
All right, now we get to the real heart of this project, building the box itself. And there's a really special technique used here that takes the final piece to a whole other level. So what's the secret? How do you get that flawless, high-end look where the wood grain just seems to flow perfectly around every single corner? Well, it's a pretty clever bit of woodworking. But before I give away the secret, let's just get a handle on all the parts. This exploded view is awesome. You can see every single piece laid out, from the main box sides to all the little tray parts and even the walnut handle and feet. It gives you a perfect mental map of how this whole thing goes together. And here it is. This is the key. Instead of just grabbing 4 separate boards, you start with one wider piece of maple. Then you resaw it, which is a fancy way of saying you slice it right down the middle, and you open it up like a book. Bam! Now you've got 4 pieces with a perfectly matched, continuous grain pattern. And this is the result. It's just brilliant. Once you cut your miters and glue those 4 pieces together, that grain flows seamlessly all the way around the box. It makes it look like it was carved from one solid block of wood. I'm telling you, this resawing technique is what gives this box that truly professional finish. So, to quickly recap the main assembly, first you resaw your board. Then you cut the bevels on the top edges and the 45-degree miters on the ends. Cut the rabbet grooves for the panels, and finally glue it all up. And check this out, they're just using tape. It's a great trick for clamping mitered corners nice and tight while the glue sets. Okay, with the main box built, it's time to focus on those sophisticated little details that make it so functional. I'm talking about the lid and that awesome removable tray. To get that really elegant raised panel lid, you're gonna need a router table. This picture shows a special bit, a vertical panel raising bit doing its thing. You run the panel straight up against the fence to carve out that beautiful profile. And see that featherboard? That's absolutely essential for keeping the wood pressed tight for a clean, consistent, and safe cut. And now for the tray. It's cool to see it like this. On the left, you've got the blueprint, right? The technical drawing with all the dimensions for the dividers and the little grooves they fit into. And then, on the right, you see that plan coming to life. The dividers are being glued and clamped into place, creating those perfect little storage spots. All right, we're in the home stretch now. And these final steps, this is what turns your project from a well-made wooden box into a beautiful, finished piece of heirloom furniture. I love these feet. They're made from that contrasting walnut, and they just add such an elegant touch. Here you can see them being cut on a table saw using a tapering jig. Tapering them on 2 sides gives them that sleek profile and kind of visually lifts the whole box up. It's a subtle detail, but man, it makes a big difference.
Now, installing the hinges is where you really need to be precise. You've got to carefully mark out their locations. Then, as you see here, you use a super sharp chisel to carefully carve out the wood to create these shallow little pockets called mortises. Getting a perfect fit here is key to making sure the lid opens smoothly and sits perfectly flush when it's closed. And now for the grand finale, a really meticulous finish. You're going to sand everything perfectly smooth, starting with 180 grit paper and then moving to a finer 220 grit. Then you apply a clear finish like Danish oil. And this is the magic moment. It's when the natural color and the incredible depth of the wood grain just come to life right before your eyes. And so here we are, right back where we started, but now we know exactly how this beautiful piece comes together. From that incredible continuous grain to the tapered feet, every single step we covered contributes to a final product that is so much more than just a box. It's truly a work of art. You know, seeing how a few pieces of wood and some really clever techniques can create something this stunning, it really gets the wheels turning, doesn't it? So the big question is, after you master a project like this, what beautiful thing would you be inspired to build next?